Welcome to episode 27 of the Danso Pitch Podcast. I am your host, Charles Danso, joined by my good friends, Daniel and Ramy. Gentlemen, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing solid, man. It's been a little cold. I've been trying to keep warm, but the stock market's been equally as cold this week, so
no kidding.
Nothing really warming me up these days, but I'm here. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, definitely fall now, but always a pleasure to be on the show with you guys. Excited for today's episode.
Nah, you guys sound like you're in good spirits despite like Ramy just said, the stock market not doing too well. Trump said he's not leaving office. You got to take him by force. There's a lot of shit going on right now, so we just glad to be here. Glad to definitely give some valuable information to the audience. I want to give a shout out before we start the episode to our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as YouTube viewership. Subscribe through the Danso Financial Group channel through our YouTube, and we're on the Danso Pitch through our audio systems. This episode will cover the principles of private equity. That also details what our business basically deals with. That is Danso Financial Group, which is private equity investing. We will be giving you guys the principles of that, giving you a breakdown as to what exactly is private equity and how someone that has a business or someone looking to invest into a business could kind of benefit from that type of investing. So let's first start off by actually giving the definition of private equity. I want to start it off. Private equity is actually a source of financing. It is an investment in the equity of a non-listed company. A non-listed company is a company that is not on the stock exchange, like Ramy basically just articulated previously. That is a company that is not public. These investors can also take control of a public company and take with the intention of taking them private. Now, I guess I know the answer, but I want to ask you guys, other Ramy and Daniel, why do you think a private equity investor would want to actually take a company from being public to private? Anybody?
Well, my first instinct is that, if a company is public, you generally have shareholders for if it's publicly traded. So, there's a large distribution of ownership in the company versus if it's private, then, the lion's share is up for grabs for those who have the capital to invest.
That is correct. Putting that MBA to use, I see, sir. That's good. That's really good. Yeah. So, as Daniel just articulated, a lot of private equity investors will look to actually take a company that may be public and take it private. There are examples of that. The reason being is, like he said, usually in public companies, example in Apple, there's such a large distribution of shares. So if you are an investor in that type of company, as a private equity owner, you basically would get just a little bit of the shares because you have Tim Cook, who's the CEO, who gets the largest amount of shares. You have the chief operating officer who has shares, and even the employees, some of them also own shares. So the distribution is really large, and it gets a little bit difficult as a private equity investor to take a big percentage of that as is. But we also want to differentiate the difference between private equity and venture capital. I know a lot of the two get related, and they are related, but for different reasons. The difference between private equity and venture capital, first I gave you the definition of private equity, but I want to define venture capital as well, which is also a source of private equity, but except the difference is the funding is given to startups and other young businesses, much like a private equity, but they're in it for long-term growth. So a lot of venture capital individuals that are basically in that market, they'll look to invest in a company maybe for 10 to even sometimes 20, 30 years, depending on how big the company potentially will grow. And usually when the company gets bigger, they look to basically stay with that company and try to keep that company private, as we kind of articulated. So when funding goes into these companies, they usually come in the form of from wealthy investors, such as wealthy individuals. Like example, a lot of times you guys hear about a lot of these entertainers, like Michael Jordan buys a share of this company, this computer company or something like that, or Jay-Z takes ownership in this person, or Oprah buys this thing. Those are usually the angel investors. That's what we refer to as angel investors. investment banks a lot of times. I know you guys probably, Daniel, Ramy, you guys probably read like a lot of CNBC reports when you basically hear like JP Morgan is the underwriter for this company or Goldman Sachs is the underwriter for this company. Usually that means that outside of just the public companies, a lot of these banks look to take these public companies public that are private. The reason being is if they are usually the underwriters, especially like a company like Tesla, when they hit big, those banks get paid. So that's why they will look and from that aspect to basically want to take them, basically public, as I mentioned. And also the aspect of venture cap. Yeah, what'd you say? Sorry.
Oh, no. I just wanted to add on that, venture cap is like under the umbrella of private equity, but private equity can span, it usually breaks down into two categories. There's the venture capital, which we're talking about, and there's also leverage buyouts, which are more of the company acquiring a company by using a combination of cash and debt. But that is, it's something that's not correlated really with venture cap. It's kind of like the opposite in some ways. And then there are higher levels of venture cap called growth capital funds, which, venture capital, they target a specific range of companies that have a certain amount of working capital, certain amount of potential. But with growth capital, those funds usually go for mature companies where they have a long streak of successful working capital that can be used in tandem with the professional expertise that VC funds normally provide. So I just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, go ahead, Ramy.
When you're thinking of venture capitalists, if you're a listener out there, you could think of the popular show Shark Tank. That's probably something a lot of you have seen or heard of, and it's literally that. Those sharks are providing venture capital for these businesses that are startups or young ideas and looking to get either funding, or sometimes they offer funding and a role managerially to provide that expertise, technical or managerial expertise. So that can also be on the table when you're trying to secure private equity, is not just finances, but also, more experience from people that have tried and tested these things before.
Exactly. And I want to stay on what you just said, Ramy, because that's what I want to go into as well. For the audience, so in venture capital, is not only your financer, but also your advisor. The reason being is, as Ramy articulated, usually a lot of times, like he said, like a Shark Tank, which I'm sure for the audience listening, you gentlemen as well, that's probably the most easiest one to go to in terms of actually seeing how venture capitalists basically distribute wealth through companies. So in that distribution, venture capitalists usually ask for ownership in your company. In fact, of taking that ownership, what they do with that is they usually can come on a hands-on or a hands-off approach. Those are two different scenarios. In the hands-on approach, they give you the money. Let's say that they give you $1 million, or like, let's say like Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank, he'll say, I'll give you $1 million and I want 10% ownership. Now, let's say you agree to that and he says he wants to do a hands-on approach. So what he basically does is any type of decision making that you're making within the business, any type of scaling you want to do within the business, he does it with you every step of the way. So any type of thing, let's say like the company wants to come out with a new product, he's there, he's advising, he's giving his expertise and saying, hey, this is how I think you can brand it. This is my team. I have these brand marketers that can kind of push this product for you, and I'm going to do that for you. Now, in a hands-off approach, let's say Lori, that's on Shark Tank as well, is like, I'll give you, let's say, $100,000 for 5% stake, and I'm going to do a hands-off approach. She just gives you the funding. So basically, she doesn't do anything with that. She just says, here's the money, and this is how much you have to pay me every year annually. Hey, your business is fucking up. Fuck you. Pay me. Your business is successful. Great. Pay me. So in that approach, they just give you the financing. They don't do anything for you. You handle everything by yourself. You use that money how you want, but you still have to pay them on an annual basis. Some people may do it on a semi-annual basis. That is a 2-year period, depending on the type of business, depending on the type of deal that you're looking to basically get out of it. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
I mean, there's a big advantage to having that expertise, as I mentioned. A lot of the times it's one or the other. You know, some individuals or a group of individuals have the great product and the great business model, but not the experience. And sometimes you have the experience and no new product, nothing that's really coming off the shelves. So this is a good way to really fill that need within your company, within your board, is to have that experience. And a lot of the time, that experience doesn't come for free. They're gonna want to, you know, they want private equity in your business because there is no cap on that. You know, if on one of these shows they give you 10% for $1 million, they give you $1 million for 10%. They're expecting to get more than that $1 million they gave you. You know, they wouldn't be doing it otherwise. There's no benefit to them. So it becomes a mutually beneficial relationship where they have to see you do well so they can get their money and more, and you benefit from obviously that expertise and that added help. So I see this being as a win-win, but you usually have to weigh the cost benefit of, do I want to give up this percentage of my business? Do I want somebody to have a say in all my decisions? So there is a trade-off there. You do lose some autonomy, but you do gain expertise. You just have to go, you always have to trust who you're going into business with as well. So I would say do your research on who you're agreeing to these deals with before you find out the hard way how they deal.
Absolutely.
Also, I want to expound on that, Ramy, as what you said, and Daniel, I want to bring you in on this. So, as Ramy articulated, is actually knowing the type of investor that is coming into your business, providing capital for your business, providing advice for your business. How can you trust that individual? So, for the audience, I guess what my question for you, Daniel, is, what are a few examples or a few reasons as to what is a benefit for actually having a private equity investor? Do you think that it can maybe boost your reputation, maybe boost your network by having a private equity investor like a Mr. Wonderful, like a Mark Cuban, like a Oprah Winfrey? You can go down the line of these investors. Even some people, it doesn't have to be an example like credible individual in terms of celebrities. We can even look down the line of maybe Danso Financial Group. What are the benefits of having an investor like that on your team, on your board, so to speak? What do you think, Daniel?
Absolutely. You know, brand promotes brand. So, you know, you having a specific VC or a specific angel investor or whatever the case might be that invests in your company, not only from the tangible financial benefit, but also from, you know, the intangible benefits of knowledge transfer, because you're dealing with, you know, essentially the, you know, titans of industry, those who know the game. They've been in it longer than you have. If you're just a startup, you know, they know how to maneuver around. They know about how to do supply chain. They know about, you know, the types of ERPs that your business may need, and all the different suppliers and how to target a specific audience. They have marketing strategists. You know, you can go down the line. Everything is, the expertise is there, you know, and also you have the networking opportunity, you know, because especially if it's a hands-on VC, you're going to have access to a supply of network that you otherwise probably wouldn't if you didn't, you know, access the opportunity. So I think, you know, there's a lot of benefit in, you know, both tangible and intangible to boost the company's, you know, long-term financial gain and their reputation. Because, you know, taking this deal, your company is going to, especially if they overachieve, it's going to put them into the spotlight, you know. So those are my thoughts on that.
What about you, Ramy? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't have much of a say on this matter right here.
Okay. That's fair. One thing I do want to also highlight for the audience as well is the different phases of investing, because this will probably be the most crucial information for those listening on the podcast wanting to learn more about private equity investors, is the different phases of investing that a private equity investor will go into. Gentlemen, just give me a couple minutes to go through it for them, and then we'll have a discussion to center around it, to further elaborate on it. So the first phase, this is for private equity, is the company uses a private equity investor. Example, ABC company. Now, what they use in that is trying to get an investor through the initial phase. That's the development phase. Now, this can be friends or family. This could be a founder of the company actually using his or her own money to actually fund the business angels, and VCs. The second aspect is the startup phase. Now, your company's starting to get a little bit of traction. It's starting to slowly build. So what you want to use is fixed assets, and working capital. Fixed assets are long-term assets that a company has purchased and is using to produce its goods and services. Now, this could mean basically assets that are maybe for a useful life or for a certain number of a year. Now, this can be your property. Where are you housing your business? Are you using some type of building, some type of address, some type of just place where you actually have your business? What are you using as your plant and equipment? Are you using any type of laptop? Are you using any type of technological tools? This is what you basically utilize your friends, family, we're still on the VCs and private equity investors to get money for. Now you're in your early growth stage in phase 3. This is your sales growth. So basically you're starting to make a little bit of cash. You're starting to make more money. So now you want to now you have what we call credit. Because of the fact your credit is building, you're building equity in your business. So this, for ladies and gentlemen, that's how you build credit from a business. You have to have equity. What that means is you have to have some type of money coming in through your business, and your business is slowly growing. That is the early growth phase. Now you can go to your general VC, which is the big boy VC, and a bank to basically get a loan from. Now you don't need your friends and family. You say, thank you, mom and dad, brothers and sisters. Thank you for helping me. This is where Jeff Bezos is like, all right, I'm getting money now on Amazon. So guys, I'm going to go to a bank now to get a loan, and maybe for whatever, how long I'm taking this loan out, this is how much I'm going to return back. Then we go to the expansion phase. The expansion phase is now where you're basically, like I said, you have your line of credit, you have your business credit, and now you have your private equity inside the business that's now looking to take your company to the mature phase, which is now the acquisition and business transformation. So now your company is doing well. Amazon has taken off. Danso Financial Group has done well. Now Danso Financial Group wants to go public. Now this is where you have to have your IPOs. This is where you have your big boy investment banks, like I mentioned, Goldman, JP, Morgan Stanley. The list goes on in the mature phase. Now we go into the decline phase. Now your company has gone public, and now you're saying whatever money that we made as investors, if your family was in it, like example, you guys, Daniel, Ramy, you guys read about when Jeff Bezos' family basically became millionaires overnight once Amazon went public. I'm sure you guys have heard that story when he asked his parents for a loan and his siblings. So this is what that decline stage is. This is the exit phase. So now, as you've been an investor in the business, this is the money, the return that you get for taking the business public or helping taking the business public. Now, a private equity means to finance the company. For the audience listening, any private equity business finances a company and asks for a return, a la ownership, a la some type of equity return in that business. Gentlemen, your thoughts? I know I covered a lot.
You just gave the roadmap. You just gave the step-by-step process of how to secure equity for your business, how to proceed from there, and how to exit, which that's really the key, is to make sure you have to pay that capital back. No loans ever are free in this world. So make sure you get through all the stages to get to the decline stage, which is the 6th step, as you mentioned. to get yourself out of that debt obligation which is looming over your business. But
correct.
And I think the key you mentioned there was to get big enough to get a secure line of credit from a bank for your business, as opposed to just whatever you received from these angel investors early on, because then you're too exposed. You owe them too much if you go in with just private equity secured from private investors. So getting to that bank stage will really be a turning point for you.
Yep, I agree. There's a lot of gems dropped, what Charles said about the different stages. And I think that, to Ramy's point, it's beneficial to understand where your business is in these stages so that you can make the appropriate decision, forward thinking. But Charles, I think, for the audience, I'll ask this question, because you could look at, there's a lot of different, VC companies out there. Just to name some off the top of my head, the Blackstone Group is one. They have a lot of Blackstone Launchpad initiatives around campus and all of that. But I'm a business owner. How do I get private equity? Like where do I go? How do I start?
Yeah, I mean, there's various ways to basically obtain the private equity investor. A lot of times, the most important one is having a business plan. That's the one thing that a private equity investor will always ask for, is having the right business plan. Because as private equity investors, you have to see what is the vision behind the company. Another thing that you want to look at is how is the management? Is there a cohesiveness in how they think? Does it seem like one person differentiates how they think from the other? Because that becomes a problem once the company actually starts to build. So then you ask yourself as a private equity investor, if I'm giving this person individual money, how don't I know in a year or two they make some money and this guy goes like, well, I'm going to branch out. I don't really need this business. Because a lot of times you want to keep the management intact, because each person is responsible for something. And especially if you're doing a hands-off approach, like I said, as a private equity investor, a lot of times if you're doing a hands-off approach, you want to make sure that whoever's managing your money, they're doing it the right way. And you're not just bringing anybody in, just doing anything that they need to do. But now we have social media. Ourselves, our actual business, Danso Financial Group, is one that does private equity investing. Right now, we definitely are definitely looking for a lot of individuals that are looking to just expand their business, not even through a capital phase, but just in terms of a small business development phase. So that's definitely something I'll look at. You always could look at social media. Pay attention to social media. That's the one thing. Private equity investors are on there. I know the popular one is Harlem Capital now. That's like the new hot kid on the block. I definitely we're not here to bash. We're here to just give up the props as due. I think they have a good business model, as I've been following them, just kind of respecting how they do it, and we're trying to also do our thing over here at Danso Financial Group. But again, like I said, it's having the right management, having a business plan, and another thing that we want to ask for is ownership, because any type of person that's asking to invest in your business is always going to ask for some type of ownership. So that's very key for a business owner, is how much are you willing to give up in your business? And give up doesn't necessarily mean like we're just taking it and running. That just means that we want to come on and give a perspective, because of the fact that, yes, it's like, example, if I'm loaning you money, Daniel or Ramy, I expect to get it back at some point, right? So and a lot of times I'm getting it back with interest. So a lot of times that's basically how you have to think of private equity investing. It's like I'm giving you money, but in return I'm asking to manage that money, basically that investment, so to speak. You can think of it even in music. I think a lot of music labels are private equity investors, because a lot of times when you're giving you an advance in cash, they're asking for your masters, which is basically what your blueprint to basically a lot of the music distribution that you're basically having given out. So you can also, private equity comes in many various forms, but in this scenario, we'll look at it as from a financial investment aspect. So to answer your question, those are the key points I guess I would mention. Yeah, in there. Beautiful.
Yes, that's a nice bird's eye view of how business owner can, get started and what they need to know before entering into this arena. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. So basically, as we articulated, I also want to mention in venture capital the stages of that, and then I'll introduce you gentlemen to something that we're gonna start doing called prime time. More to be discussed in the next couple minutes. So prime time. So in venture capital stages, as for the audience listening in, this has 3 key phases, which is the seed financing phase, the startup phase, and the early growth financing phase. So for venture capitalists, the financing phase usually is through R&D, which is research and development. I know you guys probably hear Apple does a lot of R&D. What that basically means is a lot of trial and error. So in any type of business, you have an R&D phase, which is you get financing to basically upgrade your products, see what products work, what products don't, and then you market a lot of those products. So basically that's what R&D basically does, and that helps generate a patent for the product that you have. Now a patent, as Ramy, Daniel, we articulated, is intellectual property. So basically you put a patent, so basically nobody takes your idea, nobody takes the product that you're basically bringing out. So if Apple's coming out with iPhone 12, they have a patent already in place. So nobody can come and say, hey, we came out with the iPhone 12. No, you didn't. Apple did, stupid. So that's why we got to have that funding as necessary to basically get a lot of these trademarks and a lot of these patents as necessary. So in seed financing, this is very key, gentlemen. And for the audience, you must know the 100, 10, and 1 rule. Again, in seed financing, if you're getting funding in a business, you must know the 100, 10, and 1 rule, which basically means every private equity investor will screen at least 100 companies. Out of the 100 companies, you will finance at least 10 companies. So as you guys kind of, for the gentlemen, for the audience listening, I said this to Daniel or Ramy before, was out of the 100 people that fuck with us on Danso Financial, probably only 10 people will actually buy a product if we actually promote it out there. So think of it something like that. So out of the 100 companies that are screened, for an example, a private equity investor will actually look at 10. Same thing with Shark Tank. In Shark Tank, they only show you guys probably like 3 to 4 people on an episode, right? Or like 2 to 3 people. That's probably because they probably get 100 applications and they probably pick like the 10 best that they like. That's what basically means. And out of the 10 that they decide to give money to, only 1 is going to be successful. So that's very important to understand. So, example, if we're financing 10 companies, guys, the likelihood of all 10 being successful is very slim. It's only 1%. Only 1 of them will probably be the next Amazon, the next Apple, or the next whatever company is basically out there. So again, the 100, 10, and 1 rule. Every investor does this, that invests in any type of company, has done the 110 and 1 rule. Look it up if you don't believe me. And basically, we go through our startup financing and early growth financing. I'm not going to go through each definition. I just want you guys that's listening to basically get an idea as to how financing a business is basically done. Now, you have individuals like myself, Ramy, and Daniel to help manage this business, for an example. So it's very important that if you are receiving funding, guys, what Ramy said, make sure you do your research on who the funding people are. That's very important because they also want to know that you know about them. Like, people go on Shark Tank and do their research on what each person is known for. A lot of times, Damon John, who's the FUBU guy, is not going to take deals that he doesn't know anything really about. So that's also important. A lot of different funding companies, private equity companies, have specific sectors that they're responsible for. Example, some funding companies will specifically target software companies. Some will target, let's say, restaurants or fashion companies. Some will look at specifically haircare companies. So you also have to understand, do your research if you are a small business owner looking for an investor, because not everybody just gives out free money. Trust me. A lot of them are very, very concentrated in the type of business that they're looking to invest into. What do you guys think about what I basically just broke down, so to speak?
Yeah, I think that's very important to, narrow down your search, because what you don't want to do is, start applying to a list of VC funds that, yes, they might have great reputation, but they're servicing businesses that don't fit with your industry. So you definitely want to pick something that's aligned with the industry you're in, and also, understand what the VC's finances are as well, because these are things that the board they're going to ask you, or they're going to expect that what their assets under management is, or what their working capital is. They're going to want to know that you are aware of how their financials are, and how your business model and how your expected funds that they're going to provide fits within their finances as well, because they're going to look at their balance sheet too. They have to do their annual reporting as well. So they're looking at the financials, and you should be aware of exactly how much you're asking for, or what the range of price is going to be for your business, and how that's going to, affect their portfolio as well as, your own business and your operations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and do your research, know who you're going into business with. This isn't a small decision by any means. This is probably one of the most important decisions you can ever make for your business, is who you go into partnership with, who you're going to accept money from, and just how the management and leadership of your company is going to look like. So please be mindful. And as Charles mentioned, if you're on the other side of that, remember that it is a numbers game for them. They're not just seeing one or two companies and making a decision from there. Somebody is probably seeing hundreds of companies before yours. So you really need to stand out as well. Come correct with your financial statements, or like your financial history. Because if you ever watch Shark Tank, one of the things they do is ask, how much revenue are you making? What are your expenses? What are your biggest threats? So all those things are found on your business plan. So if you don't have a nice, tight, organized business plan that shows exactly where you've been and where you want to go, you're gonna have a slim chance of securing any private equity from any of these firms or individuals. So nobody's gonna know your business better than you, so you have to come prepared, like it's a job interview basically, and come correct, ready to talk about your business. But you also need to interview them right back and ask them the right questions to see if the partnership will be a fruitful one. Because as Daniel said, you could have a firm that specializes in all kinds of beauty supplies, and you're in a totally different industry. There's no point even going there, because what's to say they're going to be able to manage you properly? So take an individualistic approach and come correct. Those are my two advice for securing private equity.
Exactly. And just to add on to what they're saying, for those that may not know how to actually build out a business plan, because I've seen some business plans and damn, some of them are terrible. I'll be honest with you. But you learn through repetition. You learn through building. One thing I would say in a business plan that you definitely essentially need is you need to detail your management. You need to detail how your company makes money, and you need to detail how you're branding your company. Those are the three key factors. A business plan should be at least 10 pages. If you have anything less, then you don't know what the hell you're doing in your business. That's just an honest fact. Right. I'm not here to sugarcoat. I'm just here to tell you what it is. Now, if you don't know how to build your business plan, you can come to individuals. Or through Danso Financial Group, we build business plans. Other individuals build business plans. You can look up online. Some people, it's their job to build business plans. So just like a lot of people pay people to write books for them, you just have to have the idea, and somebody can articulate it for you in a proper manner if you don't know how to do it. Because before you even step to any private equity investor, you have to make sure that you can discuss A to Z without faltering in any aspect. So you ever notice on Shark Tank when they start to get nervous, people don't know their numbers, people don't know their growth potential. The investors quickly get annoyed and they're like, what are you doing here? Because the fact is, again, like I said, they're looking at hundreds of deals a day, and they're going to go with the person that knows what exactly you're talking about, and they know how to counter. Because another thing is, private equity investing is a negotiation, because the private equity investor is trying to look at the best deal, and if you're a small business owner, you have to have the best deal for yourself you can put in place where you're not getting raped, so to speak. You're not getting basically everything taken out, and you're able to get something in return for your business as well. That's something I would definitely want to give to the audience that's listening in as well. Now, as we highlighted, primetime will be a segment from today's episode going forward, where towards the end of the podcast, we will basically highlight any type of entrepreneur that is basically a focus of either the topic that we're discussing on the episode or the type of business that we're basically teaching how to specialize in it. So primetime today, our primetime candidate is Robert F. Smith, who is the founder, chairman, and CEO of Vista Equity Partners. And for the audience who may not know who that name is, he's basically the black guy that was giving money to, I think, was it Morehouse or something like this past thing that was giving money, that was paying people tuition. So yeah, that's who he is. Or he's, as people will say, the richest black man in the country right now.
Yeah, we had a spotlight on him, or we spoke about him on one of our podcasts, right?
No, we didn't highlight him that much. We spoke like briefly about him, but I wanted to highlight in general because people were asking, they're like, who is that? Who? Like, who's Robert F. Smith? I'm like, Jesus, people don't stay on the rock. Like, like you guys don't know this guy.
That
so
man is the GOAT.
Exactly, the GOAT investor. He is basically the blueprint for private equity investing. But to kind of just highlight again, like I said, he's the chairman and CEO and founder of Vista Equity Partners, and they invest in software companies. They were founded in 2000. Robert F. Smith studied chemical engineering in Cornell, and he got his MBA at Columbia University. He worked in Goldman Sachs for a number of years in M&A, which is mergers and acquisitions, before starting his own basically private equity firm. He worked in Goldman Sachs by helping deals through Apple, through Intel, etc. So basically, we wanted to highlight that to say that for the private equity investors there, if you work in a certain company you're looking to build, it's always not a bad thing to work in a 9-to-5 setting where they actually teach you a lot of these skill sets. So when you actually start the business or concentration that you're in, you know what the hell you're doing. So for him, he worked in Goldman Sachs for a number of years, so he had the capital clearly, because Goldman Sachs, everybody know, getting money over there clearly. Also, he did a lot of deal making. So when he actually started his investment firm, he was able to already understand how the language is spoken, so to speak, right, gentlemen? How deals are basically being done, how to basically present deals, how to do underwriting contracts. Underwriting contracts is when you basically write a contract out, you write how much years you're willing to invest in this company and what is the return that you're asking from the owner. So all these are basically what Robert F. Smith, again, basically has started his business on the ground, the layout of actually private equity investing, because that's something he learned while I was working at Goldman Sachs for a number of years. So for me to wrap it up, and I'll let the gentlemen also add in their final thoughts. The reason we wanted to highlight this episode again is because this is what Danso Financial Group is. We are a private equity investment firm. This is what we deal with. So when we post on Instagram, we giving you a little bit, but we're actually discussing what we actually do behind the scenes, what we're building out, which is we're looking to build and grow companies, invest into various companies, and build their portfolio, so to speak, for the benefit. But this is what the intricacies of what private equity investing is for the audience that's listening in. So to sum it up, is basically a lot of give me money and a lot of I pray to God I get a return back on it. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
Daniel, you want to go?
Yeah, Charles pretty much said it all. You know, the key takeaways is research, know your company. We talked a lot about there's a theme of confidence here, that you need to be confident in what your business is and the numbers you're expected to pull, 5 to 10 year planning, and just know your industry. Going back to our GOAT investor there, our GOAT VC, Robert, he knew the industry. He worked in the industry for a number of years before he started his own VC company. So, in your own line of business, whatever it is, you have to be the expert. As we said earlier, no one knows your business better than you. So make sure that, the business is essentially another essence of you. You have to know every intricacy of your business.
That was a good way to say it, Daniel. Yep, it's a reflection of you, representation of your work ethic, and how organized you may be. So again, I would just say when looking for private equity, you really gotta come prepared. If there's anything you don't know, you better be able to either have somebody that does know or cover that up, because these people are looking for somebody that knows the ins and outs of their business. If you don't know and you're the leader and the face and the head of your business, then what are they possibly going to see in you? So, have a tight business plan, know your intricacies, know the numbers, and consider all that when walking in, because this could be one of the bigger decisions you make with your business. It could save. I've seen private equity deals save businesses. I've seen them wreck businesses. So it's really a matter of preparation and confidence. And like I said, do the research needed. There's plenty of outlets out there that are willing to fund your dreams and your product. So don't take the light approach. You can contact Danso Financial if you ever need any direction in that. And yeah, I'm complete with that.
Yeah, so just again to just add a little bit, the last bit that I want to add in again is investors need companies to invest in. Business owners, you need outside funding. I know that it may seem like you can fund everything yourself, but every business should want to innovate. Every business should want to expand. So you will need some type of capital coming out of the woodwork outside of what you're basically generating, because a lot of times you're going to be spending your money that you're making from your business to cover overhead costs, which is basically what you're expending for basically keeping the business afloat. So again, this is where private equity investing comes into play. So again, research. But don't be afraid to reach out to individuals. Just ask them. Be like, hey, you're a private equity investor. What is usually your layout? A lot of times they'll give you that information, because at the end of the day, they're looking to basically pull you in so they can have an investment in your business, potential investment in your business, so to speak. So it's important to understand, do your homework, have your business plan in place, have the team. Don't do it by yourself. I'm telling you, private equity investors do not like solo individuals. They want to see that you have structure. This is where a management team comes into play. Now, I'm not saying go get 100 people on a team, but you just need at least a good couple people that have a strong base. They understand exactly what the business is, and they can speak and expound on how they want to expand the business. So again, this is what we wanted to cover. Episode 27, Principles of Private Equity. Any friends, family looking to get an investment in a business, reach out to us at Danso Financial Group. Reach out to any of the individuals that we kind of articulated. Again, so we will be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any type of audio platform, as well as YouTube at the Danso Financial Group. We will have this in the description of the episode. Thank you for those tuning in.
Yup.
Enjoy the work week. This episode, when you hear it, I'm sure it'll be out during the work week. So definitely check it out. Take some notes. Ask us any questions. For the audience that's listening, a lot of you have our personal information through Instagram, whatever. Reach out. We got you. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.